72 years old, 15 years of intimacy struggles, all reversed within weeks thanks to the right glass of wine. No pills, no procedures, just four specific types of wine that help unclog blood vessels, restore healthy circulation, and bring back the warmth and closeness many believe are gone forever. I'm Dr. James. For more than 30 years, I've specialized in men's health and age-related vitality. I've helped thousands of patients across the U.S. feel strong, connected, and confident again. And what I've discovered may surprise you. Intimacy after 60 doesn't disappear. It simply needs the right kind of support. And sometimes that support comes from a place no one expects: your wine glass. While most people see wine as a simple indulgence, certain ancient varieties are rich in compounds that can naturally improve blood flow, relax blood vessels, and reignite desire without medication, side effects, or awkward conversations. But only a select few wines actually deliver these results. So, why do these four make all the difference? And how can they help you feel vibrant again in your own skin? That's exactly what we'll explore. But first, let me show you why these wines work so well, especially in bodies over 60, and how one simple ritual has changed the lives of thousands of older adults just like you. As we move into our 60s and 70s, subtle changes begin to take place inside the body. Changes that most people don't notice until they start to affect how they feel every day. One of the most critical of these changes is what happens to our blood vessels. Over time, they begin to narrow, stiffen, and lose the flexibility that once allowed blood to flow freely. This isn't just a cardiovascular issue. It influences everything from your energy and clarity of mind to something many people quietly struggle with: physical intimacy. Here's something I tell every patient who walks into my clinic. If you're over 60 and struggling with connection or arousal, it's very likely not a problem with your hormones or desire. It's your circulation. When blood can't reach certain areas efficiently, especially those that play a role in intimacy, you may start to notice cold hands or feet, reduced sensitivity, slower response times, and even emotional distance from your partner. That's not aging, that's a blood flow problem. And the good news is, it's one you can actually do something about. What surprises many of my patients is that part of the solution may already be in their home in the form of wine. Now, I'm not talking about just any wine or drinking heavily. Quite the opposite. When used wisely and in moderation, very specific types of wine can support circulation in remarkable ways. Certain red wines in particular are rich in natural compounds like polyphenols, flavonoids, and resveratrol, ingredients that help relax blood vessels, reduce inflammation, and improve the delivery of oxygen throughout the body. These natural compounds encourage the body to produce more nitric oxide, a key molecule that tells your blood vessels to open up. With better circulation, people often feel more alert, more connected, and more receptive to physical closeness. It's not about alcohol, it's about what's inside the grapes. But not all wine has these effects. Only certain varieties grown and processed in the right way provide enough of the active compounds to make a meaningful difference. That's why I guide my patients toward four specific types of wine that consistently show results in improving blood flow, intimacy, and overall vitality without drugs, prescriptions, or side effects. Let's take a closer look at what they are and why they work. 1. Pinot Noir, the circulation champion. When I first began recommending Pinot Noir to my older patients, I didn't expect the kind of stories I'd hear just weeks later. One man, aged 67, came into my office with tears in his eyes. "Dr. Carter," he said, "I didn't think I'd ever feel that kind of connection with my wife again. All it took was a few small glasses of the right wine taken mindfully, paired with the right intention. And that wine was Pinot Noir." What makes Pinot Noir so special isn't just its taste or its elegance, it's what's hidden inside the grape skins. This variety contains some of the highest natural levels of resveratrol, a powerful compound that's been shown to support the flexibility of blood vessels. In simpler terms, it helps your arteries and veins open up again, letting blood flow more freely, especially to areas of the body that are critical for physical closeness and connection. As we age, our blood vessels tend to stiffen. That's not your fault, it's just biology. But when circulation slows, everything else begins to change too. You might notice your hands and feet get cold more often, or you feel slower to respond when your partner reaches for you. Intimacy becomes more mechanical or worse, absent, and it's easy to assume that's just the way things are now. But I've seen time and time again that it doesn't have to be. With just a few ounces of Pinot Noir a few nights a week, alongside a healthy lifestyle, my patients have reported remarkable shifts. They sleep more deeply. They wake up with more warmth and energy. And in the moments that matter most, they feel alive again. Not just in their bodies, but emotionally too. Pinot Noir works because it's subtle. It doesn't flood the system or force a reaction like medication might. It gently supports what your body is already trying to do. Open up, circulate, and connect. It restores flow both physically and relationally. There's something beautifully symbolic about it too. A wine known for its smooth, silky texture, helping restore the smooth rhythm of closeness between two people who may have forgotten how good it can feel to simply be near each other. But Pinot Noir is just the beginning. There's another wine that I often call the artery defender, and it plays an equally powerful role in helping the heart and body rediscover their natural rhythm. You might be surprised by what makes it so effective and why it's especially beneficial when enjoyed before bed. Let's take a closer look. 2. Cabernet Sauvignon, the artery defender. I remember a particular couple who came to see me. He was 70, she was 68, married for over 40 years, still very much in love. But lately, something had shifted. He said, "It's like there's a wall between us. Not emotional, just physical. I want to be close to her, but my body doesn't cooperate the way it used to." I listened carefully, and one of the first things I recommended was introducing a small amount of Cabernet Sauvignon into their weekly routine. Not as a drink to escape, but as a tool to reconnect. Cabernet Sauvignon is more than just a bold, dry red wine. It's rich in compounds called proanthocyanidins, powerful antioxidants that help protect the lining of your blood vessels, keeping them more elastic and functional. This flexibility is crucial as we age, especially when it comes to restoring healthy blood flow throughout the body, including to the parts that matter most when it comes to intimacy. You see, the heart pumps about 2,000 gallons of blood a day, but if your arteries are stiff, narrowed, or inflamed, much of that flow is restricted. That means less oxygen, less sensitivity, and less responsiveness. It affects both men and women. What once came easily now requires effort, and that can make closeness feel like a memory instead of a possibility. But when you gently support your circulatory system with something as natural and enjoyable as a few ounces of Cabernet Sauvignon, you start to notice real change. Some of my patients report feeling warmth return to their fingertips and toes. Others say their sleep improves. But the feedback I hear most often is this: "We're close again." Not just in passing, but really close. That's because when blood is flowing the way it should, everything else follows. Touch feels different. Desire feels natural, not forced. Moments of connection begin to return without pressure, without expectation, just presence. And from a medical standpoint, that's one of the most powerful outcomes we can hope for. The best time to enjoy Cabernet Sauvignon is in the evening in small portions with a light meal. It relaxes the body, opens the vessels, and sets the stage for emotional closeness. It's not magic, it's physiology supported by nature. But Cabernet is only one piece of the puzzle. There's another wine I often suggest, less known, but deeply effective in restoring warmth, touch sensitivity, and emotional openness. It's been called the warmth restorer. And what it does, especially for couples who've grown distant, might surprise you. Let's explore that next. 3. Sangiovese, the warmth restorer. Years ago, I met a woman named Margaret, 67, widowed for 5 years, and recently in a new relationship. She told me, with a mixture of joy and hesitation, "I want to feel again, not just emotionally, but physically. But everything feels muted. That longing, that vulnerability, is something I hear often. At a certain age, we don't necessarily lose the desire for intimacy. We lose the warmth that makes it feel natural and welcoming. When I introduced Margaret to a simple ritual involving a few ounces of Sangioves, everything began to change. Sangioves, a classic Italian red wine, is a quiet hero when it comes to restoring warmth and circulation. What makes it so powerful is its rich blend of flavonoids and an antioxidant called quercetin. These natural compounds help improve blood flow not only to the heart and brain, but to the skin and extremities where sensitivity and responsiveness begin. For those over 60, this can mean the return of something they haven't felt in years. The gentle heat of connection, the tingling of touch, and the emotional safety that comes with physical closeness. When blood begins to circulate more freely, especially to the hands, feet, and pelvic region, it's not just about function, it's about presence. My patients often describe a sense of coming back into their bodies. They say things like, "I didn't realize how distant I'd felt until now," or, "I can feel the warmth in my partner's touch again." And sometimes they don't need to say anything. A look between two people tells me everything I need to know. Sangioves works best when shared. A slow afternoon glass, a quiet moment on the porch, a conversation that lingers longer than usual. That's where its magic happens. Not because it fixes anything, but because it supports what's already there. The desire to feel, to connect, to be close without fear or discomfort. And it does all of this gently through improved blood flow and reduced inflammation that comes from the inside out. Margaret later told me it wasn't just about my body changing. It was about remembering I could still enjoy intimacy, still feel alive. That kind of transformation doesn't need a prescription. Sometimes it just needs the right kind of wine and the right kind of moment. And while Sangiovese is powerful, there's one more wine that's especially important, particularly for women over 60. It's light, elegant, and often overlooked. Yet, it quietly supports one of the most common intimacy challenges after menopause. Let's talk about the wine I call the hidden gem. 4. Rosé Dry, the hidden gem for women's health. Her name was Ellen. She was 66, vibrant, funny, and full of life. But when we sat down to talk privately, her eyes welled with quiet frustration. "I love my husband deeply," she said, "but something's changed. I feel disconnected from my body, and it makes me pull away." What she described was something I've heard from many women over 60. The emotional toll that physical changes, especially post-menopause, can take on intimacy. It's not a lack of love, but a quiet grief for the closeness that used to feel effortless. That's when I told her about a wine most people overlook: dry rosé. Not the sugary kind poured at summer parties, but the true dry roses made from Grenache or Mourvèdre grapes. These wines are light in alcohol, but rich in polyphenols, especially those that support microirculation and blood flow to delicate tissues. For women in particular, this kind of support can make an extraordinary difference. As we age, blood flow to sensitive areas naturally declines. It's subtle at first: reduced sensitivity, slight dryness, discomfort where there used to be ease. Over time, those physical changes start to affect the emotional experience of intimacy too. Rosé, with its gentle vasodilating properties, helps counteract this process. It encourages circulation not just to the heart and brain, but to the areas where women often feel the effects of aging most profoundly. When Ellen began incorporating a few glasses of dry rosé into her week, always with food, always in moderation, she noticed not just physical shifts, but emotional ones. It wasn't about being young again, she told me later. It was about feeling connected to myself. And from there, everything else got easier. That's the quiet power of this wine. It doesn't shout, it doesn't overwhelm. It gently reminds the body how to feel again. And for many women and their partners, that subtle return of warmth, softness, and responsiveness can be life-changing. I've seen couples hold hands again after years of distance. I've watched women begin to smile when they talk about their bodies instead of feeling ashamed or invisible. All from A few simple natural shifts that bring blood flow back where it matters most. But wine is only one part of the story. There's something deeper, something more powerful that happens when you combine these rituals with the right mindset and emotional connection. In the final section, I'll show you how to turn this into a lasting lifestyle, a way to nurture intimacy, vitality, and joy that can grow stronger year after year. A lasting lifestyle of connection. Over the past 3 decades, I've worked with thousands of men and women in their 60s, years and beyond. I've sat across from people who thought their most meaningful moments of intimacy were behind them. I've heard the quiet sadness in their voices, the kind that doesn't always show up in lab results or medical charts. And yet, I've also witnessed the quiet joy that returns when something as simple as circulation begins to improve. Often, that joy begins not in a clinic or a prescription pad, but around a dinner table with a shared glass of wine. Each of the 4 wines I've shared with you, Pinot Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon, Sangiovese, and Dry Rosé, holds something unique. Pinot Noir opens the blood vessels and brings back a sense of vitality that often feels out of reach after 60. Cabernet Sauvignon defends the arteries, helping the heart deliver blood with greater strength and ease. Sangiovese warms the body, awakening touch and presence in a way that many couples describe as coming home to each other. And Rosé, gentle and often underestimated, helps women reclaim sensitivity and confidence in their bodies again, especially after seasons of change. But beyond the science and the compounds, there's something more important. What these wines really offer is a return to ritual, a chance to slow down, to share a glass, to create space for conversations that don't rush, and for moments of connection that go deeper than the surface. So many of us spend years focused on survival, on raising families, building careers, paying bills. Then suddenly, we find ourselves with time again. But for many, that time feels quiet or even empty. I found that when couples begin this ritual, adding these wines into their week, not just for the health benefits, but as a shared practice, it changes the tone of their relationship. There's a softness that returns, a glance that lingers a second longer. The body, given what it needs, responds in ways, both subtle and profound. That warmth, that closeness isn't lost to time. It's simply been waiting to be invited back. Of course, wine alone won't solve everything. It's not a miracle in a bottle. But when paired with mindful choices, gentle movement, honest communication, and a willingness to remain open, it becomes part of something much larger. A lifestyle of connection. One that nourishes not just the heart in the body, but the relationship itself. If I could offer one final piece of advice, it would be this. Don't wait for a diagnosis or a crisis to start caring for your circulation and your intimacy. Start now with small intentional steps. Pour a glass of Pinot and sit with your partner. Cook a light dinner and open a Cabernet. Share a memory, a laugh, a kiss. These are the moments that strengthen the arteries of your relationship just as much as they support the ones in your body. You are not past your prime. You are not too old to rediscover joy, closeness, or desire. In fact, in many ways, this chapter of life holds the deepest capacity for love and connection because it's built not on urgency, but on presence. So, here's to your next glass, to the warmth it brings, and to the life still waiting to be fully lived. If this message spoke to you or reminded you that closeness and vitality don't have to fade with age, please take a moment to like, share, or leave a comment below. You never know who else might need to hear that. It's never too late to feel alive again. Your story, your voice, and your presence matter. Let's keep this conversation going.